we have someone that's going to speak to us about the flyover. Jason Millsap. Yeah.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Nope.
Okay, I'll talk loud. If you can't hear me, raise your hand, please. Bob. Okay. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Jason Millsaps. I'm here tonight because I live in the county, and I'm also the chairman of the Montgomery County Young Republicans. If you didn't know, the Montgomery County Young Republicans passed a very similar resolution to what you are about to take up here in a little bit. And so I wanted to let you know that the YRs have passed that resolution. Ours has a little more substance to it as far as some intricacies of the contracts and things that y'all may hear tonight. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that. In my day job, I'm the Chief of Staff for the Texas House of Representatives, House District 15, which is the southern portion of Montgomery County. And I live up here in North County. So I have two sides of the county I represent, from one living and where I work. So I have reviewed the TxDOT contracts that we have in place for the flyovers at Highway 242 that were signed in 2005. And then right after that, voters approved a road bond in 05 in September that would start, basically kickstart the pass-through toll program that Montgomery County kind of spearheaded with TxDOT back then. The word toll and pass-through toll is not really a toll like you and I think of it. It's basically the state paying us back, the county, for every mile of road that we built under this agreement, for every car that drove on that mile, 7 cents. And so a lot of roads are on that, 1488, 1314, 1486, 1484, and the flyovers at 242. So people go, well, how did the flyovers at 242 get paid off so quickly? They were part of the pass-through program, so for every car that went on it, that car paid a toll. That was from us, and then the state paid 7 cents per lane mile on top of that. The state has paid all of its pass-through money for those projects off. We got the last payment last year, and Commissioner's Court approved the final payment to go towards defeasing that debt in 2000, earlier this year, in January of this year. So all the pass-through projects are now paid for, including the flyovers. Those contracts, as you go into them, have a very interesting point. Section 16 has a termination clause. That termination clause states that once the once the TxDOT has fulfilled its obligation to pay us back, the contract is then voided. It has a stipulation in there, subsection C, that says as long as we continue to charge tolls on any component of the pass-through program, then we have certain obligations. One of those obligations was that we should build a third flyover in 2000 at the 242 intersection. That amendment to the original contract was done in 2010. In 2010, we made that agreement, we made that motion, we made that amendment to the original contract to take 100% of the cost of the third flyover. That's a really crappy deal for Montgomery County, and here's why. Under Texas law, the state pays 80% of any project on a state road. The county pays 20%. So we've basically said, you let us toll this bridge, and we'll pay 100% of the $12.5 million of the cost of the third flyover. When this agreement was made, we hadn't even started construction on the first two. So we have no idea or timeline on when we're going to build the third. The third flyover, if we borrowed the money at $12.5 million in 2010's numbers, which it's probably more, it would have a payoff of about 25 years on the current usage of the flyovers. If we were in the tolls, that part of the contract also becomes void, which then allows us to go to the table with TxDOT and negotiate with TxDOT for the 80% funds matching for that project. But we haven't done that because we're operating on the assumption that we have this contract in place, which we do. But it becomes void the moment the county says no more tolls on these two bridges. And then we can get state money. At the current estimated cost, which was the most recent one in 2010, the cost of the project was $12.5 million. 80% of that is $9.5 million that the state is avoiding paying by us tolling the two bridges and continuing to toll the two bridges. That's why I said it's a crummy deal for Montgomery County. So why our resolution basically states that we should end this whole project because it's a form of double taxation. that would allow Commissioners Court to then renegotiate with TxDOT to get some state matching funds, and would allow us to save county tax dollars and make these bridges free, which if you are in that area of 242, 85,000 cars a day go through that intersection, and only about 7,000 cars use the two bridges. If you sit there at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, cars go past the bridge, sit at the 3 red lights, they don't use the bridge. In the morning, when everybody's in a hurry to get to work, the flyover bridge that has no red light at the end of it from East County on to South of 45, you can sit there and watch the traffic back up over the railroad bridge because no one wants to take the toll flyover. If it's free, it will alleviate traffic at that intersection like it was originally designed to do. So there's several components to this. I won't take up any more time because I'm sure a lot of people are ready to go home if you work the polls today. So I'll be around as a resource if it's necessary as you guys get into it. Yes, ma'am.
Why is it so important to do this now and not wait till after the election?
So it just come out. Unfortunately, the timing of it's kind of bad. One, Commissioners Court just voted to defease the debt on these projects in January, so very recently. And so the question, if I understand it, why is it so important? It became a political question at an open forum about a week or two after the bond debt was paid off. And the answer from several candidates was kind of interesting. So I don't push that. As a YR, I don't have control as the chairman of what that board does. Several board members came together and said we would like to take up a resolution. They did it on their own. Once it passed that committee, then it came to the full executive board, which then I control, and we passed it out unanimously. So, yes, ma'am.
But still, exactly, I need some time frame because I feel like we've come up here and we were just here 4 weeks ago.
So
Why couldn't we have voted on this 4 weeks ago? Why is it now, or why can't we vote on it in 5 more weeks, whenever we
So
meet again?
that's a question you guys are going to have to discuss openly. I would say, just in the timing, I don't think 4 weeks ago, it was made very clear that vote at Commissioners Court paid off this debt.
When
And
did
so,
Commissioners Court finish is my question.
yeah, I think it was January 8th.
Okay, so
Yes.
we didn't meet yet, so
Yeah.
I'm thinking we should have
Yeah.
brought
So,
this up on
but
January
that's
23rd.
I'm not a precinct chair, so that's something you guys would have to talk about. Mr. Paredes, yes, sir.
2 questions. Number one, who signed the pass-through agreement back in '05, and who signed the memorandum of understanding between the Texas Department of Transportation, TxDOT, and the Texas Administration Division offices in January 12?
I mean, 10.
What I have is,
So the original contract was signed by Barb Sadler, former county judge, with authorization from all 4 of the commissioners at that time.
okay,
Under today's Commissioners Court attendance, only 2 commissioners remain that were there at the time. That's Mike Metter and now County Judge Craig Doyle. The rest of them were not on the court at that time. The amendment that you refer to that added the financing portion of the third flyover at 100% cost of the county was also signed by Judge Sadler after a motion was made by Commissioner Ed Chance and seconded by Mike Metter, and then voted on by the 4 commissioners at that time, Ed Reinhardt and Craig Doyle. So it was done prior.
thanks for the clarification. Second question is, once your resolution passed, where did that resolution go?
I forwarded that resolution to Chairman Dr. Wally Roberson.
And then where does it go?
That's up to the chairman. So we have issued a press release. Unfortunately, not all of our local media has taken that press release and ran with it. So, and that's fine. You know, the Young Republicans aren't known for passing resolutions. We've only done 2 of them, and this is the second. The first one was on reappraisals after Hurricane Harvey.
Thank you, we need to call this to order. Thank y'all.
I'll stick around, Linda.
Ladies and gentlemen, do y'all want Commissioner Clark to speak before we call the meeting to order? He can answer some of your questions.
Yes.
All right.
Basically, some of this timing of this has been called into issue. Well, the timing of, it's the political season. So should we stop doing business? Should we start doing what's right? It's been very clear with the exception of Commissioner Nowak bringing to the point that I did vote to put the tolls on the road, I will tell you that this whole deal happened before I got here. The deal was already cut, the deal was already done, the contract was in place. Basically, my vote was to set the tolls. I mean, here I am, brand new commissioner, came in, the deal with the toll roads was already cut. It was just, what I voted for was the lowest amount. I felt, 50 cents or a quarter or whatever we could get the lowest amount. And we voted on that at that time. So I'm not going to say that I didn't vote to toll it. But what I am telling you is when a toll road gets paid for, it's time to stop taxing the people. And I'm telling you what Jason said is absolutely true about the contract. We went over this contract. I was made aware that, I saw y'all's resolution. I'm in full support. I appreciate y'all. I feel like getting behind me and getting these tolls removed off of there. People are saying, well, what about the third flyover? What about this? What about that? Well, what about a lot of things? Are we going to just sit around and say, let's wait, let's just keep putting the tolls on there? I can assure you that I have a plan in place. I'm going to go meet with TxDOT as soon as the election's over. Things are a little crazy right now. But I am going to go down and meet with TxDOT, and we are going to move forward with a plan for the third flyover. And it's not going to have anything to do, it's going to be more akin to what Jason's talking about. The state needs to pay 80%. We need to pay 20%. We need to move forward, and I'm in favor of the resolution as it's been written. Okay? Thank you so much. I'll let you get down to business.
Get on.
Come to order. And we'll have our invocation. Captain Tom Hughes.
Father, we just thank you so very, very much for this day, Lord, and I pray a special blessing on each and every person here and their families. And Father, may the decisions we make here tonight bring honor and glory to you. And we pray this in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Remain standing for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
You may be seated. Normally our bylaws call for, when we have a debate, 2 for and 2 against, and each one is limited to 2 minutes. Unless there is objection, I would recommend that we put a 15-minute limit on both sides, and as many speakers as want to can speak and use that 15 minutes. And if there's an objection?
Objection.
You object?
I do object.
Okay. And then we'll need a motion to suspend the rule so that we can expand the debate time. Is there a motion? Hearing none? Okay. Okay.
2 for, 2 against, 2 minutes for each person on each side.
Okay. Who's going to be first to speak?
Motion has been.
Should I present the resolution first?
Yeah. But that would count against you count against the 2 minutes. Okay. All right, go ahead.
As long as he doesn't elaborate.
Okay, you just read the resolution. I can't say anything else. That's my point.
All right. Whereas the Republican Party of Texas platform states that we believe the toll should come off the road when the debt is retired, blank 211. Whereas tolling a highway after the road has been paid for constitutes double taxation, since the citizens were taxed first to build it and then taxed again in the form of a toll. Whereas the bond debt from the construction of the 242 flyover of the toll road has been entirely defeased by pass-through toll revenue from the state, largely due to the efforts of County Commissioner James Nowak. Whereas, since the 242 flyover has been paid off, it is unfair to require the taxpayers to continue paying for it. Whereas, County Commissioner Jim Clark has called for Commissioners Court to remove the tolls on the 242 flyover, which costs the taxpayers over $1 million a year. Whereas, opposing the toll roads will bring more people into the Republican Party due to the deep unpopularity of tolls with the majority of Texans. Whereas, tolls are an important issue which are not only opposed by the RPT platform, but were also a big enough issue to be placed on the 2018 primary ballot by the SREC. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Republican Executive Committee of Montgomery County, Texas, that we call upon the Montgomery County Commissioners Court to remove the tolls on the 242 flyover and end the double taxation of Montgomery County citizens. Mr. Chairman, I move adoption.
You're speaking
Is there
for?
a second?
Yes, sir.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, you speaking for?
Mr.
2
Chairman,
minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I move to amend the resolution as presented.
Okay, you want to come forward and state your amendment?
Second for that.
Second.
Well, you make the amendment, then you can second the amendment after it's done.
Pardon me?
After you can somebody can second your amendment after it's been presented.
Okay. I have some copies if you guys want to pass them back.
I propose that the resolution be amended, the paragraph that starts "now therefore," that it read, "Now therefore be it resolved by the Republican Executive Committee of Montgomery County, Texas, that we call upon the Montgomery County Commissioners Court to remove the tolls on the 242 flyover once Montgomery County's written agreements with the Federal Highway Administration, Texas Division, and TxDOT have been fulfilled, and end the double taxation of Montgomery County citizens."
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. So now go to the debate, and we'll have 2 speakers for and 2 speakers against, each for 2 minutes.
And we're debating the amendment.
We're debating the amendment now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Charlie Parada, Precinct 38, and the only reason we want to amend this language is because, as you heard from Jason over here, these agreements are in place. The first one, the pass-through agreement, has been on the books since 2005. It's still a current and active pass-through agreement. The memorandum of understanding between these agencies came on in 2010. It's been amended twice. Once again, it's still on the books. So if we're going to pass a resolution to have these tolls come off at one point in time, I don't think you can just throw away any existing agreements. I think we have to at least acknowledge that these agreements are in writing. They've been signed off by the appropriate authorities. And when you look back at the original pass-through agreement in 2005, this was a bond issue that was passed by the voters. It wasn't just a group of people sitting up at Commissioners Court and said, hey, let's just go do this. I mean, they did it, but then it goes to the people and it's voted on in. So in one way, if you throw all of that stuff out, you're actually doing away with the will of the people. And I don't think as an elected group, that's our job, is to get rid of, and start doing our own thing just because we don't like something. So let's just honor the will of the voters. Let's honor the written agreement and vote for the amendment to the resolution. Thank you.
For or against?
I'm speaking for the amendment.
Okay.
Do you want someone against first? Or?
No, okay.
Jason referenced the agreements. Some of them are here, not all of it. You're welcome to look at it if you'd like. I passed out attachment A1. This is, I think, what Jason referred to. Scope of the project is the local government, that's Montgomery County, will fund and develop the eastbound flyover. Local government will pay 100%. At that time, when this was done, the estimated participation was over $12 million. Whether you like toll roads or you don't like toll roads, etc., I think the issue is that we should not be asking our county government to renege on written agreements that are in place. I think that's a bad policy for this body to recommend something like that. And I personally believe that if the funding mechanism is not there to do that flyover, that eastbound flyover, it's going to be many, many years. Maybe we can go back to TxDOT. Maybe we can get the 80% that Jason or Commissioner Clark were referring to. Maybe we can't. We don't know that right now. The tolls are a funding mechanism for the eastbound flyover. That's the current plan. It's always been the plan. I don't think that's anything new. So I'm just recommending that our resolution tell Commissioners Court that we want them to honor the written agreements that are in place at this time. Thank you.
Again?
Yes, I would like to speak against this amendment as the author of this resolution. What this amendment does is basically gut this entire resolution and really defeats the purpose of even passing this. Because what we're wanting to do is send a message to the county commissioners that we support the Republican Party platform and we believe that the toll should come off once the road's been paid for. And so we are taking the platform that was passed by our delegates at the convention, the largest gathering of Republicans probably in the country at a state level, and we're applying what they want. As far as the contract, it says in the contract, and as Jason just related earlier, we can end this agreement, and TxDOT, in that case, we'll pull matching funding from them. They'll pay for 80%, and the county will pay for 20%. Whereas if we keep on going through this, we're going to pay 100%. This is a bad deal, and why this deal was struck in the first place, I have no idea. But we're not bound to this. And finally, as far as the voters are concerned, yes, they did pass that, and the toll was put on there, but the toll has been paid for. And so there's no reason why the toll shouldn't come off now. And there's no reason why we should have to continue to pay 100% of the cost of this road, where we could pay 20% and TxDOT could pay 80%. So I'm opposed to this. We pass this. This will give them wiggle room, and it deletes the entire point of passing this resolution. So I am opposed.
Another again?
My name is Brian Crumby. I'm from Precinct 13. I am against this amended language. As was mentioned, it does kind of gut the spirit of the bill. There was a comment made that the will of the people is not to be double taxed, in my opinion. So I don't think we're reneging on the will of the people of some previous vote. Taxpayers do not want to be told, they don't want to be taxed and taxed and taxed. I thought we were the party of low taxes, and so that's one thing I said. So I'm a little confused on the support from some of the speakers on this. Why they would want to continue this taxation on us when it's clearly given by several people. How to make it cheaper for us, and so I ask you to vote this amendment down so that we can get back to the main language and do what we're here for. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, do we have any time remaining?
No, there's two.
Oh, each of us had the 2 minutes.
Yeah, 2 for, 2 against, and 2 minutes apiece.
And we used it all up. I'm sorry?
You didn't take, it's 2 for, 2 against, up to 2 minutes.
Oh, up to 2 minutes.
Yes, total of 2 minutes.
Are we allowed to ask questions?
Got that?
Why?
It's parliamentary procedure.
We do with parliamentary procedure.
Now we have to vote
We
the
have to
amendment
vote
up
on
and
the
down.
amendment.
Chairman, I would like to make a motion. Point of information. Secret ballot.
repeat that?
I would like to make the motion that we do a secret ballot because the recording device is in the room.
Is there any objection?
Objection.
It requires a second.
A second.
No debate.
Objection.
Is there a second?
I second.
Point of order, where in the bylaws does it say that there's no debate on that motion?
This is Robert's Rules of Order, the bylaws doesn't prescribe it.
Where-
Robert's
where-
Rules of Order says the motion can be made, and if it's seconded, there's no debate, it proceeds to vote on whether or not to have a secret ballot.
Where does it say in Robert's rules that there's no debate on that?
Let's see.
Point of interest?
Mr. Chairman?
It's on
point
page
of order.
284.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
What's your point of order?
A point of order, Robert's Rules says that any member can call for a division of the House or a standing count. Any member, not a vote, any member. So I call for that vote, standing count.
Point of information?
There's already a motion on the floor and it's been seconded.
That needs to be disposed of order.
It has to be disposed of.
It's not out of order. I
So
call
we
it
have to
be
vote
recorded.
now on whether to have a secret ballot. Okay?
Point of information?
Yes.
I want to know why we have to do this tonight. I do not understand that.
Exactly.
And so that, I understand and I agree that at some point in time, those tolls need to come off, okay?
Point
I do not understand.
point of
I am
order, that's,
talking.
point of order, point of order.
I'm talking.
Point of order, that's a speech, that's another speech, it's not a point of order.
I don't understand why we have
over.
to make a decision on this tonight. And I would like to understand that.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, that's not a point of information. Okay. All right. Yes.
Point of information, can I request, what was the time frame? How long did it take to pay off the debt from when we started tolling to now?
Would it be out of order for me to answer that question?
We have a motion and a second.
You're out of order.
I'm out of order.
We have a motion and a second. We need to finish that business, then we can move forward.
Okay.
Can you repeat the motion and the second, please, Clint?
There's
We
a
have a
motion.
motion, we have a motion for a secret ballot and it was seconded. So we need to dispose with that business. I know Mr. Crumby asked for division, but the motion was asked for and seconded before he called division. Then we'll come back to your division.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
If the secret ballot fails, we'll come back and do division.
What's your point of order?
My point of order is, if one person wants a standing count, the vote is meaningless because that would trump any vote on having a secret ballot.
I don't agree with that.
I can show you the page
The
right.
parliamentarian doesn't agree with that.
The motion was made and seconded. It's not debatable. We just proceed to vote on whether or not to have a secret ballot.
Are you gonna
Fails,
vote,
then we
Mr.
go back
Chairman?
to your motion.
Are you going to rule on this issue? He gave you an advice. Are you going to rule?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
Are you going to rule on whether my point of order is valid or not?
The parliamentarian has ruled and I'll support that.
Okay.
Okay? So now we're going to vote on whether to have a secret ballot. And all those in favor, please stand.
Sixteen for.
All opposed to the secret ballot? raise your
All
hand.
opposed, raise your hand. Twenty-four against. 16.
I was wondering, Lonnie, you sitting over there?
Yeah, they can't count those
You're hiding out over there.
As always, you're doing a good job calling it away.
What was the vote?
16 for, 24 against, the motion fails.
Okay, the motion failed. Okay, now we're going to vote on the amendment to the resolution. All those in favor of the amendment to the resolution, please stand. All opposed, stand.
Somebody didn't vote on that. 1726.
What?
17-4-26 against. A couple people didn't vote on the last one.
Okay. The motion to approve the amendment failed. Now we go to the original motion on the resolution. All those in favor, please stand. Whoop.
We didn't have a debate on the motion. Yeah.
I was ready to go home. Keep going I say your fault. John votes for.
Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, I'm John Wirtz, Precinct Chair 69. The Republican Party of Texas Plank number 211 states, we believe tolls should be removed when the debt on the road is retired. The bond debt associated with flyovers on I-45 at State Highway 242 was defeased last month. Continuing to charge a toll for the use of the flyovers now constitutes a form of double taxation. Removing the toll component from the flyovers would allow Montgomery County to execute the termination clause of the contract between the county and the Texas Department of Transportation. This would allow for state matching funds for a third flyover and potentially save the taxpayers of Montgomery County an estimated $9.6 million in construction costs. Additionally, this would save the taxpayers of Montgomery County over $1.2 million in double taxation per year. I urge you to support this resolution to remove the tolls or tax. Thank you.
Speaker, either for or against. Larry, you're for?
I'm for.
You're for?
Yes.
Okay. You have 2 minutes.
I'm Larry Rogers, Precinct Chair 75. I live in Windsor Hills, 242 west of I-45. We live in a retirement community right where the tollway flyover bridge ends. There's another retirement community in that same area right there. It's called Windsor Lakes. There's approximately 750 homes in those two subdivisions and about 1,200 to 1,500 people. Then you throw on top of that Lone Star College, where it ends the toll road again. And then right across the street from there is 242 is College Park High School. Practically everyone in that area that uses 242, not the toll road, is on a fixed income. So it's very, very hard to financially use the toll road as much as we'd like to. So why should we continue to have a toll? There's no reason for it. The traffic, all the people that live on 242 and in that area that I'm speaking of, when we go to the Woodlands, we take the service road. Obviously, we get up on 45. When we come back, we have to take the service road if we're not going to take the toll road. And the traffic is horrendous. So it would be a big advantage to not use the toll so we could use it free. Thank you.
I find myself in an unusual and awkward position this evening. Number one, I do have A lot of questions about why this had to happen tonight as an emergency, when it's clearly not an emergency.
Are you for or against it?
Can I speak, or, okay, it's my turn to speak. The agreement, the contract that is in place currently says, in part number 12, I'm Scott Baker, precinct 23, by the way, so toll revenues, section 12, toll revenues, page 7 of 12. The developer may not impose tolls on the project unless the department and the developer have first executed a written agreement providing for the imposition of tolls. If the developer receives any revenue from tolls imposed on any part of the project, those toll revenues must be used to retire debt incurred in connection with the project, must be used to pay for the operation and maintenance of the project, or must be devoted to other highway improvements that have been selected by agreement of the parties and are eligible for development under Title 23 of the United States Code. The expenditure of toll revenues must comply with all applicable state and federal laws. A couple other sentences. There is a second agreement in place to fund the flyover on the eastbound side. The funds are built into that agreement through the tolls. I agree 100% these tolls should go away as soon as possible. But there is no more conservative position than for the people who are using the road to pay for the road. And the simple fact is there's a funding mechanism built in right now to pay for the eastbound flyover with tolls in place as agreed. And I don't know what magic pot you think the state has to take money from, but that is also taxpayer funded money. That comes out of our pocket. It's just a different bucket. There's not a magic pot that it comes out of. I don't know why that's difficult to understand. I agree 100% we must remove the tolls as soon as possible. But there is funding for a flyover. The amendment made sense because it said keep it in place until we finish paying for the other $12 million project.
Another speaker again?
Langdon Estate, Precinct 6. I'm not opposed to the resolution based on the merits of the resolution. I'm opposed to this because I just left my family, my wife, my daughter, and my son, while they were watching a softball game. I could be enjoying that game with them. Instead, I'm here voting on a resolution that could have waited. If you want to become a mouthpiece for a minority of our precinct chairs, then vote for it. But if you want to stand up and say we are tired of being used by minority, please vote against.
It's 2 for and that's 2 against.
How much time do they have left?
It's 2 people.
Okay, that concludes the debate, and now we get to vote on the resolution.
Mr. Chairman, do we have a quorum?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, let's roll.
Yeah. Are you ready for the vote? All in favor of the resolution, please stand.
What do you do, Secretary? Y'all tell us if we vote with you or against.
34.
All opposed, please stand.
Thirty-four, 13 against. 34, 13 against.
34 for, 13 against. Motion is adopted. The meeting is adjourned.